And good morning. I'm your friend Scotty Ray. It is Wednesday as we're off and at 'em. Expect a very wet day, 50% chance of showers in the forecast as we start this morning out at wet and 69 right now, still under 70. We'll get to 86, 87 for that high before it's all said and done. I don't know if it's me or if it's the orange shirt that Odie's wearing to my right that's got me yawning. I can't see. It's bright. Y'all be ready for us at 7 o'clock this morning. We got a great show lined out for you. We're going to tell you about all the arrests that have been made. There's been a bunch of them. Standoff in Newton County yesterday in Newton, Mississippi. Boy, that was a lot of talk going on about that of what's the 85 police doing here in Newton? Don't normally happen, does it? We'll tell you all about that in a few moments as we spoke with Jody Pennington, Sheriff of Newton County yesterday, to get the scoop on what was going on. We've got all of that coming up this morning, and also all the ins and outs of, the communities around the area. All that's going to happen at 7 o'clock this morning. As usual, let's get this day started with a good word as we head out to Collinsville. Let's go to the First Baptist Church. Brother Ben's got a message for us.
Forsaken. That's a word that's highly emotional. It's intense. It means to renounce or to turn away from entirely. That's one of the words that Jesus used on the cross. In Matthew 27, as he hung there on the cross, suspended between heaven and earth, he cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" You see, in that moment, God the Father forsook Jesus. He turned completely from his Son. But why? Well, the answer is because at that moment, the sins of the world were placed on Jesus. The sins of all who believe on him were accounted to Christ. As 2 Corinthians 5 says, Jesus, who knew no sin, was made to be sin on our behalf. And in that moment, Jesus bore the consequences of our sin. Sin separates from God. Sin deserves the wrath of God. In that moment, Jesus experienced both of those things, separation and wrath. He was forsaken. But here's the good news. Jesus was forsaken so that we don't have to be. He paid for our sins so that we don't have to. Through Jesus' work on the cross, instead of being forsaken, we can be forgiven. All who turn from our sin and trust in the work of Jesus. May that be true of you. Change begins in you.
The Change Begins in You is brought to you in part by Piggly Wiggly of Collinsville, Patrick Allen Companies, Mitchell Tire and Wrecker in Collinsville, and Mowdy Cabinetry. And welcome back. Hope you enjoy those as much as I do. If you'd like a little bit more, church doors will open tonight. Hope you can drop by for a visit. They've got a great message, and they'll do that again on Sunday also. As I said, we'll get into your forecast here in a few moments, and we do now have a threat of severe weather for tomorrow. I was watching my radar system, and the National Weather Service just updated there, so we'll have that for you here in just a little bit as we start going over all the ins and out of the weather of what's coming up over the next few days toward the weekend. Can y'all believe it's already Wednesday? Middle of the week. Have mercy. Y'all be careful. Streets are wet. That usually causes incidents. As we start looking at headlines across America, we now see that Uncle Joe at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is doing a U-turn as we were getting ready for, is it tomorrow, that the border was going to be wide open. It looks like the Title 42 is going to be kind of updated with basically the same laws to stop this, as more than 10,000 immigrants were set to run into America. Almost the same thing that Trump did. We'll watch that closely to make sure that that happens over the next 24 to 48 hours. We have a man that's in jail off a cruise ship. Now, you've been to cruise ships, haven't you, Odie?
Oh, yeah, plenty of.
This guy is in deep trouble as someone went to the restroom and noticed, hey, what's that in the corner? It was a hidden camera. As they tracked it, they got the man who put it there. He had his cell phone film. Videoed over 150 children that came in, too. It was a public restroom. He's in deep trouble. Boy, the things go on. Never hurts to look around when you go in these public places of what people will do. It makes me scratch my head. California Governor Newsom, I'm sure that you've heard of this by now, to where they were putting together a panel for reparations. Newsom now says he's not backing that. They'd come up with a figure of $1.2 million per person. He's not going to back this. Shocking. That's what's going on in California with that. The CIA, this won't shock anybody, I bet. Oh, the CIA co-sponsored. Do you remember that thing that said that Hunter Biden's computer was fake? CIA helped get signatures to say it was no good. Really, does that shock anyone? It didn't me. Will we ever get to the bottom of that? Probably not. It will be stopped, I'm sure, at some point. By now, most of you have read where yesterday Trump was found guilty. And again, this was in New York, where this was of the lady that accused him of sexual misconduct. He was found guilty there and she was awarded $5 million. He says it's not fair and it was a witch hunt. Most Americans probably agree with that. I'm sure that there are some that don't. But the odds of that man getting a fair trial there were very slim. Anybody seen Buddy Holly yet? This is pretty deep. Now, I don't keep up with dog shows, but I know this is what you would call the grand poobah of Westminster. Yeah. And I would say his breed, but, well, I can't pronounce it. So we'll just show a picture of the pup here that won. Here it is. We'll go to Daily Mail to show you this morning. There he is. Cute little fella, isn't he? He just looks like he's a happy little fella there. I'm not going to lie. I'm a sucker for puppy dogs. They are a man's best friend. If you don't own one, find one today. They'll keep you company, and, well, they like you when nobody else does. Even when your wife's mad at you, they'll still like you. Seriously. Cats aren't all that bad either. Have you a pet? It will really improve the way you feel about that. Now, we've got a lot to talk about coming up this morning of what's going on with the Navy denying of, hey, we had nothing to do with that video that went out there. Yeah, we'll talk about that. MTV. Do you remember MTV back in the day, Odie?
When they played music videos?
Back in the day when they done music videos. MTV is getting ready, and they've been doing this since 1985. News, it's going away. As you will start to see a change in America, and more about like what I do here, to where news is going away from networks and going mostly digital, like more or less what we do here. But they're chopping that from the block of MTV. That's going away. They're calling it budget cuts. Maybe it wasn't any good.
It don't work no more.
It doesn't. People want the truth, and they want it faster. They want to know what's actually happening and not made-up stories. Now, y'all know what I mean by all that. But America is changing the way that you get what you read and you hear. Be ready for it. We'll be right back as we get this morning started. We're going to look at your forecast and show you all that's up and coming. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name's Kenneth Graham, and I'm running for coroner of Lauderdale County. For over 50 years, Lauderdale County's been represented by professional and competent coroners. I would like to continue that tradition. Over the next several months, I want to educate the public on what the coroner does and dispel any myths about the coroner job. I can show you that I will be the most professional coroner there is. So please vote for me August the 8th.
Paid for by the Committee for the Election of Kenneth Graham. The Precast Group, offering you the best selection when it comes to a storm shelter. Located on 145 South in Meridian, where they offer above-ground shelters that can be installed in your home as you're built in, are conveniently located right outside your home if it's already built. They also offer storm shelters that can be installed in a slight bank or on flat ground. Protect your family today with a very affordable storm shelter from the Precast Group. Highway 145 South, 601-482-0003. The Precast Group. Check out one of those. Those are really nice to have when bad weather breaks out. As I mentioned, let's look at radar, what's coming up for tomorrow. Now, this will be a level 1 on Thursday, not today, tomorrow. As we pull up Meridian Honda radar, we'll see that this is a level 1 for the area, mostly across the southern portion, central and southern Mississippi, as we see it stretching from Natchez down, just barely taking in northern portion of Louisiana through Hattiesburg, Laurel, up through Meridian, and this will cut off right at the Knoxville County line as we look at this, and just shy of reaching into Winston County. There's a couple of feet, half a mile or so, that it does reach into Winston there, and barely, and doesn't quite make it to Sugarlock. It's on the outskirts there, but Scuba over to Geiger, these areas here and all across Philadelphia and Neshoba County will be a part of this, and Carthage as well at Leake County will have a number 1 for tomorrow. This is what we're looking at for tomorrow. Now let's turn this off and look at what we've got with rain this morning so far. As we pull this back, we're showing heavier activity, Highway 45, right there at Sugarlock. Rain is approaching the McDonald's and all the Kentucky Fried Chickens there in Macon, but not quite there yet. North of DeKalb on Highway 39, we've got showers, and north of Scuba there on Highway 45 through Presley Bottom as you cross past the old Back Porch Cafe. A lot of showers there also. Scattered showers across Lauderdale County as we look at this, mostly in the southern portion. Now, we do have some rain out by the Rock House and where Walmart is there on 19 and Enterprise, Stonewall, Quitman. Light rain and out to the west of Newton and around Chunky and Hickory in these areas here. What this tells us is we've got a lot of wet streets, and it tells me if you slam on brakes, it's going to be a bad outcome, and we don't need any incidents this morning. Y'all drive careful. Leave earlier. Don't drive as fast. This is that where the old film grease comes up out of the road and it causes wrecks quicker when it's that light stuff on the road. We don't want that happening to you. So leave early. Drive safer. That's what it's all about. If you've got bald tires, drive extremely slow. I'll admit it. We've all had a set of tires or two that you wasn't going to replace just yet. They slide a little quicker than the rest. We know how that works. Good morning to everyone. As we see Dwayne is up and at 'em. Bob McNeese, how are you doing there? Also, we said good morning to Lola Couch. How are you doing? Glad to see all of y'all up and smiling and at 'em. We'll do your forecast next.
Your forecast is brought to you by EMEPA, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
Now, the National Weather Service tells us that our record high and record lows was back in 18, we had a high of 91. That was what, that's 5 years ago. Can anybody believe that? 2018? Have mercy. 1906, we set a record of 41 degrees of it being cold today. As we look at what the forecast falls for today, 88, 87. It's going to fall somewhere between like what Philadelphia has there, 86 to 88. It's undetermined at this point. As we go northward there, we'll see that we'll get up by Columbus Air Force Base around 88, and somewhere around Stark, Vegas, it'll be 87. To the south, Hattiesburg, 88, and a little cooler there in that Brookhaven, Natchez area as we see 84. Not bad. As we come across to Bama land, we'll see 88 in Tuscaloosa, 87 in Demopolis, and probably 86 sitting in Livingston, Alabama as well. Montgomery, warmer, 89 as we look at Hank Country. As we glance across the nation, we do have warmer temperatures off to the east there in southeast Alabama into Georgia and southern Florida. Look at that. Warm. Now, the Meridian area is at normal temperature. The west side of the state, as we looked at that, the Natchez area, a little bit cooler. Out to our west, what is that out in Texas and West Texas? Cooler weather. That's not much, but it'll just a dip, and then it'll come right back up as we see this. Now, our 7-day outlook brought to you by our friends at Wilson Saw and Outdoor Power shows us 87 for today, 50% chance of rain, and this lingers in tomorrow, which brings us to that level 1 of severe weather tomorrow. Mostly heavy rain, and then we'll have some wind, damaging wind with that is the threat for tomorrow. 86 for that high, only down to 65 tomorrow night. And look at this over the weekend. The rain moves out. We've got 90 on Saturday, 92 on Sunday. What a great time to get out and mow your grass. Yeah, it's going to leave streaks. It's still wet. We know that. It's going to be soggy, and it's going to be a lot of lawnmowers getting pulled out of holes. But you got to cut your grass. 89 back to work on Monday, and that rain chance moves back in. Look at this, 40% chance Monday and Tuesday. It's just shower after shower, isn't it? As we move in all the way through the 24th, look at these rain chances still hanging around. Anywhere from 40 to 50% chance of rain there. Even up to 56% there on the 21st. But we have highs in the mid-80s, mostly through May the 24th. Now, don't forget, June is not that far off. It really heats up June and July. As we look at our fishing forecast, we look today for our major time to be right at 5 o'clock when you get off work. 5 to 7 o'clock if you want to head out. Chet's Paint and Body bringing you that forecast to go fishing today. Everybody feeling well? I think so. Reggie, good to see you up and at 'em. Bree Packer, I see you as well. Ginger, oh, so many of you. Anyway, we're going to be back in roughly, I can't read the clock, about 15 minutes there. Odie's ready, I am, as we'll bring you all the latest headlines of what went on over the last 24 hours. Get you up to date so that you know what happened. Jeff Lewis, how are you today? Good to see you also, my friend. We'll be right back. Right now, sitting at 69 at Keyfield and Meridian. We'll be back with all of your headlines beginning at 7. Thanks so much. We'll see you then from the Scotty Ray Report.
The Scotty Ray Report is brought to you by our following partners: